And the hurricane hunters went out and investigated this thing and said, whoa, it's got 50-mile-an-hour winds with it. It's a tropical storm. Never was a tropical depression. It was tropical storm right from the beginning. 37.2 north and 62.1 west. That's where the center circulation is currently located. It's 805 miles south-southwest of Cape Race, Newfoundland, and its winds are at 50 miles per hour. It's moving northeast at 30. This thing is booking right across the Atlantic. It's going to get into some colder water very quickly and begin to take on some extratropical characteristics. It's moving away from Bermuda right now, so it's good news for folks. If you know somebody that's over in Bermuda vacationing, this was a little quick jolt of, whoa, tropical season is underway. Its pressure 29.74 inches and 1,007 millibars. Let's take a look at it on the satellite picture. There it is. It's moving rapidly out of the picture. 30 miles per hour is really moving. Now, this is another area of disturbed weather off the southeast coastline. Another low pressure cold core right now sitting on an old frontal boundary. But does that spell problems? Yeah, many times it does. Just like with Bill, this could become a Claudette, but no indication of it yet. It has to gain tropical characteristics. One of the computer models that gets factored into the equation says that, yeah, it looks like this might develop into some kind of a low and then move toward the Carolina coastline. Doesn't indicate whether it's going to be a tropical system or not, but it's certainly an area that bears watching this time of year. So where are we so far this year? We've had 2 tropical storms now, Anna and Bill. The third will be Claudette. And if you remember, Kate is the 11th named storm. If we get that far, and Dr. Gray says we'll have 11.
Channel. No place on Earth has better weather.
Well, here it is, 10 before the hour. Let's take a look at the tropics. And we've got some action, and I like to say it's the good kind of action. It gives us something to look at, keeps our interest peaked, and keeps us aware that it is tropical season and that if you live in coastal communities, it could present some problems. But it's a tropical storm, it's in the middle of the Atlantic, and it's moving out to sea. It's the best of all worlds here. Tropical Storm Bill. And again, Bill formed very, very quickly offshore yesterday. The Hurricane Center was keeping an eye on a cluster of clouds. Never even got to be named a depression before it got up to tropical storm. And they saw the cluster. They sent out reconnaissance aircraft. And it found a semblance of a circulation and 50-mile-an-hour winds. So it became Tropical Storm Bill, centered at 37.2 north, 62.1 west, or 805 miles south-southwest of Cape Race, Newfoundland, up through here. And speaking of race, it is racing northeast at 30. Maximum winds are at 50 miles per hour, but as it moves very quickly up to the northeast, it's going to be moved over the colder waters of the North Atlantic. Within the next 24 hours, likely to be just extra tropical, as we say, lose all its tropical characteristics. You can see with the center of the system, look, there's still a pretty good little blow up of bright white clouds here around the center of the system itself as it moves on out to sea. But again, the only one of
no place on Earth has better weather.
Good Saturday morning, everyone. It's 10 minutes before the hour. It is the 12th of July, 1997. Time for our tropical update. We have something to update. It's been a pretty quiet season so far. But today, this morning, the Hurricane Center has named their hurricane, the first one of the year, by the way, because, of course, Ana, which was a tropical storm, never attained hurricane status, but Bill has. Bill has grown significantly, really, over the last 24 to 36 hours. It was a disturbed area. They sent a reconnaissance aircraft into it yesterday, and it jumped beyond depression right to tropical storm. And with some significant deepening and strengthening overnight, Bill has now become a hurricane. Now, the latest position as of the 11 a.m. update is 38.5 north, 60.2 west, where that places the center of the storm, the hurricane, 660 miles south-southwest of Cape Race, Newfoundland. It is a minimal hurricane with top sustained winds of 75 miles per hour. It is moving northeast at 26, so again, that is away from the continental U.S. No threat to the U.S., no threat to the Maritimes at all. It is moving away rapidly. Its central pressure 29.15 inches of mercury, or 987 millibars. Now, it is just now over waters that are minimally warm enough to sustain it as a hurricane. It'll be moving quickly into colder waters, and so much so that by the next 24-hour period, we anticipate Bill will become extratropical. Here is a look at the IR, or the infrared satellite picture. We saw a pretty good little explosion here through the early morning hours before our visible satellites were available to us because of the sun, and doggone it, we missed it again. Let me go to this next one here that I want to show you. This way we can show both. There you can see, again, Bill, the minimal hurricane, racing off to the northeast. And this is the type of the systems we like. Something to look at, something to observe, something to report on, but nothing that's going to threaten us whatsoever. And so that continues to move on.
The Weather Channel. No place on Earth has better weather.
All right, it's that time of the hour to take a look at the tropics for you. Quite a bit going on, actually. We have our Hurricane Bill, which will continue to weaken over the next 24 hours. No threat to Bermuda. It pushed far enough west initially, then northwest and north of the island. Did have some gusts over 30, 35 miles an hour on the island. And now just primarily of marine interest. There'll, of course, be some fairly significant swells with the system as it continues to almost race to the northeast of 26 miles per hour. Pressure as of 11 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time, you can see 987 millibars, and here were the coordinates. It was centered near this fixed latitude and longitude at 11 a.m. about 660 miles south-southwest of Cape Race in Newfoundland, with maximum sustained winds of 75 miles per hour. Here's the visible imagery, and starting to get a little bit darker on the eastern Atlantic, so we're losing some of the illumination, but you can still see the high thin cirrus clouds heading up towards southern Newfoundland. A fair amount of convection, especially when you consider the system has pushed up over some cooler waters in the last 24 hours. But again, it was upgraded to hurricane status late this morning, but it is expected to weaken and continue to move fairly quickly. So thankfully, we won't have to deal with major effects from the system here, again, other than the marine interests. All right, let's go ahead and take a look at what's happening here as we look at the 11th through the 20th of July, historically, going back to 1886. You can see the points of origin for some of the tropical storms and hurricanes, or for all of the tropical storms and hurricanes in that time slot. And we do have some development going on east of the southeastern coast, an area of low pressure. Now, big